Welcome, viewers, to another episode of Insight, brought to you by our sponsors, Octech Solutions, who provide IT solutions to your home and small business, as well as Blissful Blessings, a event planning perfect for all of your parties, whether they be corporate or personal or what have you. This is another offering from Dynamic Current, and I am your host, Daniel Hayes, with my co-host here,
Andrew Blackmer.
Yes, and today we have a special guest, Stephen Manila, a educator who has taught math for many years at a prestigious institution that will remain nameless for the moment, and is currently a healthcare professional concentrating in radiography. Welcome, Stephen.
Oh, thank you, Daniel, for having me.
I am honored and pleased to have you here with us.
Well, I'm pleased to be here. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you on numerous subjects.
Excellent, excellent. I think one of our prime subjects today is going to be the State of the Union address delivered by our President, Barack Obama, just yesterday. So, gentlemen, thoughts? How did that thing go down? I mean,
I think it's going to be like most State of the Union addresses. It's going to be sort of forgotten in the wash of Obama's presidency, I think. You know, people are going to remember the things that he did rather than State of the Union addresses, I think.
Well, it's good that we're timely here before this whole thing goes out of style. We have an opportunity just a day beyond the delivery to discuss it while it's still fresh in folks' minds. He opened it with a quote from a former president, JFK, who was beloved by America prior to his untimely demise, and really even after his untimely demise.
That's very true.
Yeah. So I see that as sort of an olive branch to everyone, that we will all work together for the benefit of the entire nation.
Even if it might be wishful thinking, right?
Oh, there's plenty of wishful thinking that happens. But he's been a president that has really reached across the aisles, in my opinion, especially having a background as a social organizer. It's in his roots, in his blood even, to get people together and develop consensus and have almost like a group think to move forward, which is, you know.
Do you think that there was anything in this speech that he might actually try to accomplish? Or do you think it was just sort of a laundry list of Christmas wishes for next year?
Well, you know, I think there are a lot of things that he's going to try to accomplish, but the question really is whether he's going to be able to accomplish them or not.
I think notable was the minimum wage conversation. I mean, there's a lot of talk about increasing it to about $9 an hour, nine and change or something like that.
Yeah, he was talking about 9 in 2011. There was a plan to bring it up to $9.50, which just sort of faded by the wayside. Yeah. But $9 an hour. So now this is an interesting point, okay? Because what the president mentioned is increasing this will put more money in the pockets of consumers, and having a consumer-based economy, that's good for purchases, that's good for a lot of businesses. Here is my thought on that particular issue, and it is more of a question. Is it a good idea to encourage higher wages for this sort of unskilled labor? You know, the type of work that is mostly going to be
sales associates,
exactly.
Yeah, waitress. Well, not waiters and waitresses, but more low skilled. You know, menial labor sort of stuff. Yeah,
the types of things that don't provide a great deal of benefit to the people who work them, and not a great deal of benefit to the country in general. And I certainly don't mean to come off as elitist or condescending. I mean, people have to work for a living. You know, I do it. We all do. I'm just thinking government intervention in that area in particular maybe would have been better to direct at creating more high-skilled jobs. And he did mention this, but if you're going to put a great deal of money into boosting the minimum wage, what's it at now? $7.25?
Yeah, but I think it's $7.25 or $7.50. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, that's a lot of money for everybody who's on minimum wage to now have $9 an hour.
Right.
And you know, who knows how that's going to slow down the economy, people not wanting
Well,
to
I
hire.
mean, I think it definitely helps people who are currently employed. I mean, a lot of them are usually the ones who benefit from that, but the people who want to get employed, you know, particularly people with low skills, younger people, they're going to be the ones who are, you know, hurting because of, you know, they might be priced out
Right.
of the you know, labor economy.
Yeah, that's
So that's something to, you know, pay attention to
that's
going
really the
forward.
problem.
Yeah.
If I may interject, I would have to say that unfortunately the double whammy of the you know, $9 an hour minimum wage hike and the and Obamacare in and of itself could adversely affect the you know, the small business owner. What may happen
Definitely,
is. I mean, I listened to a radio segment talking about the Virginia legislature deciding that they're going to stop or, you know, freeze hours for their government employees because they're looking into how Obamacare is going to cover employees up to 30 hours a week, and so they're going to freeze them at 29, all the part-time workers. So more or less undercutting Obama's initiative. And if you add to that the $9 minimum hour, I understand if we're talking about people that are raising families, you know, $9 an hour would be, you know, a minimum most likely for, you know, someone that's raising children, but perhaps not necessarily so for, you know, students that are going to college, you know, that are making their way, that have their parents' support. So I think you have to try to arrive at some sort of happy medium when it comes to, you know, looking at these measures. You know, $9 an hour may be, you know, relatively low in our area, you know, in the Northern Virginia area, but you know, if you're talking about Alabama or Mississippi, $9 an hour is probably going to be more on the higher end of the wage scale than the lower end.
Yeah, that's one thing that I was thinking as well, and I'm glad you brought it up, Stephen. $9 here certainly doesn't mean as much as it does in other parts of the country. Now, I understand in certain states, like for instance, California had a $9 minimum wage years ago, and some other states opt to have a wage that's a bit higher. But how do you think this will affect the state's determination of these wages? And if states don't opt to give their citizens, or residents rather, a higher wage than the 9, could that cause any sort of economic destabilization regionally, you think?
Well, I mean, maybe I'm showing my age, but I guess, you know, back in the day when you weren't making enough money at one job, you would take on another job. You do what you can to survive, and so whatever the market demands, you know, whatever your skills and aptitude are, you apply yourself, and if one job isn't enough, then you take another job. That's sort of my whole, I guess, problem with, I guess, you know, the current government system, the way it's being run. It's sort of like, you know, let's, you know, throw you food stamps, throw you, you know, money, you know, throw you a cell phone. I just, again, being in my 40s, it's laughable, the, you know, $16 trillion plus in debt. It boggles the mind how we've gotten to where we've gotten. I understand, you know, the Bush administration, you know, 9/11, you know, we decided to, you know, put all that money and effort into 2 wars that, you know, cost us trillions of dollars and lives, and, you know, I was definitely all against that. But it just seems like the baton has been passed to, you know, another party, and there doesn't seem to be any turning back. And I just think that it's just one of the root causes of, you know, our problem that needs to be addressed.
Well, I think you brought something up really good, though, about how the market and how small businesses react to these rules and policies and
even
regulations.
state governments.
Exactly. And so, they might be freezing hours at 29 hours instead of 30 to avoid having to provide health insurance for their employees. They might give them even fewer hours. So if you're paying $9 an hour for your employees instead of $7.25, you might give a guy, 5 hours instead of 10 part-time, something like that. And,
Or,
that's money out of their pocket. That's not more money, that's less money.
Not only that, or you may just decide, well, we'll just try to have those 2 workers that were doing that job at $7.50 an hour. We'll pay that one person $9 an hour.
Yeah.
We'll cut our cost and go ahead and bump the guy's pay up. But the other guy will be left without a job.
Exactly.
But that sort of thing they've been doing forever anyway. I don't think that...
But you'll never get
this
to
plan is
universal
going to
health
take-
care. The states won't allow it. They'll just, you set a mandate 30 hours, they'll cut you down to 29. Set the mandate at 25, they'll cut you down to 24. So you'll never get to universal
They'll
health
react
care.
to try to run their business. They're
Right.
going to respond to incentives, and that's how it works.
Right. I mean, you could look at the states' reactions. I mean, there have been several states that have filed suit against the government because of the act in general. It had to go up to the Supreme Court, and only part of it was really justified as being constitutional. So the states are going to react to whatever happens, no matter what. But in general, federal law is going to trump state law, just like this whole Denver.
Depending
marijuana
upon whether or not you
situation.
still agree with the nullification.
But
the 10th Amendment. I mean, either you agree with the 10th Amendment or you don't.
Right. Well, moving on about the State of the Union, there were
Right.
2 responses to it. One by Marco Rubio and one by Tea Party or Rand Paul. What do you think about that? There's a lot of people who think this is a foreshadowing to the 2016 Republican primary season.
Right.
That these are the 2 guys who are going to be going mano a mano,
Yeah.
and this is the beginning. What do you think about that?
Well, I read Rubio's response, which got torn up by Krugman, but I didn't see a little Paul, the Paul Jr. mini me Paul.
Yeah.
But that's your guy's son, so I'm gonna let you take the lead on that response, Steve.
Well, first I'd like to ask you, what was Krugman's response since you brought it up?
He basically said that Rubio, you're a ding-dang fool.
Oh, so it really wasn't a cogent response. It was sort of like child throwing sand in a sandbox, more or less. Something that you would expect from a Nobel Prize-winning individual.
Well, certainly I didn't recap the entire episode.
I didn't think you did. That's why I brought it up.
But that's basically how it sort of came off. So we're going to take a break from this fabulous dynamic current offering, if I do say so myself, and we'll see you in a minute.